All right.
Hi.
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 Okay. So, I am super duper excited to get into my story.
Okay.
I've been like, oh my gosh, when are we going to do this episode? Because I'm not kidding, has been in my phone since season 1.
Oh, I'm very excited. I think that's awesome. Do you have any little bits that you want to talk about before we get started?
I do. None of which are like fun. I do have, before we get into like the sad stuff, my friend did start a podcast, and it's like a paranormal podcast. So I know last week we were doing like podcast shout outs. So I thought I would shout out her podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
My friend Ashley is doing a podcast with her friend James, I believe is his name. They just released their very first episode. As of the recording today that we're doing, they've released 1 episode. But it's called The Spooky Door.
The Spooky Door.
Yes. So it's all about all paranormal. So not just ghosts, but like UFOs and alternate dimensions and all kinds of spooky things. So
I'll have to check that out because I've been watching reruns of the X-Files lately. So that should be...
There we go. So yeah, the first episode...
Right there for me.
Yeah, this first episode just came out as of today, which is the 23rd of March. So by the time this is released, who knows how many they'll have out.
Speaking of podcasts.
Yeah.
This is Revolution Rosies.
Yeah. Hi. Before we get into other things, this is Revolution Rosies. I don't want to get too far.
We talk about everyone else. That is Vivienne Vega.
And that over there is Betty LeRoux. And this is Betty LeRoux's dress that she handed down to me.
I love that dress so much. It was given to me by my little sister, Danae. And I love that dress. And
so this is Danae's dress. And then it was Betty's dress. And now
it was a Christmas gift from Danae.
Oh,
but then I couldn't fit into it anymore. And it was just such a great dress that I couldn't give it to a thrift store. You can't give a great dress to a thrift store even
Absolutely
if you can't fit it. So
absolutely not. No. So I have been taking good care of it and wearing it at the appropriate times. I promise.
I love to see you wear it. Whenever you wear it, it makes me very happy to know that it's still being loved and worn because it was a really loved dress. So.
I love it so much.
Good.
I love it so much.
Good.
Before we get into this, I want to mention that hate crimes are on the rise again. Always have been, always will be. Now I want to just put in the forefront that, yes, Black lives still matter, but also we need to recognize that Asian lives matter and that
for the last year, they have had a target on their back and we have a very horrible history with them in America.
Absolutely.
And I mean, yeah,
since our last recording, there was a pretty horrific shooting in Atlanta where people are claiming that it was because of sex work, but
you know what? That doesn't even fucking matter though.
No,
sex workers are workers.
Exactly
and their
right.
Lives matter just as much as everyone else's fucking life. So it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter what they did for a living.
No,
what they did for a living has nothing to fucking do with it.
Race shouldn't matter.
Right.
Work shouldn't matter. Those people's lives matter, and it should not matter what you do for a living.
No.
That man should not have gone in there
to kill you.
No,
your job should never cause people to leave you there to kill you, and your race shouldn't either. And what's upsetting to me is that they try to blame it on the women for what they did or who they were.
Absolutely.
And it's just. And they try to find his reasoning behind it.
Absolutely.
And they've been trying to play down the race thing. Oh, it wasn't that they were Asian. He just went in to rob them. And no, you don't go to these 3 particular places because you don't think you're going to find more Asian or Asian Americans there. Right. You do that on purpose. That was purposeful.
Right.
And I'm just,
I know.
It makes me so angry. And it
really is.
So, you know what, though? The thing that I'm happy to have been seeing here recently is they're talking about the victims because for the first 3 days, I couldn't find their names anywhere. It was all about him. It was all about what he had to say and what he had to, and I was like, I don't give a fuck about these guys.
Right.
Like this guy, who are the people that he killed?
Right.
Who are these people?
Right.
And I'm finally seeing their stories. It's been a week. It's been more than a week, and we're just seeing their stories. They're just now being painted as human beings. And that's disgusting.
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is why I want to give them a place right now, because that's, I mean, we're small potatoes, but anybody who is anybody should have a place. And it's just not right. It's just not upsetting. Right. It is. And I hate to start a show off like that, but I just feel like it needed to be said. So that's that. Real quick, I just did a game show type thing, and with a local comedian here in Columbus, and his girlfriend said that she is subscribed to us.
Hi, that's
awesome. And she
awesome.
follows us on Instagram, and she just sent me a friend request, literally as we speak.
That's awesome.
Isn't that funny?
Hi.
I know. So hi, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
So I just thought that was really, she commented when I showed up and she's like, oh my gosh, I followed them. So that's
great. That's awesome.
Really exciting. But okay. So I'm just ready. I'm just ready to dig in.
No,
just ready to dig into this story.
Get in there. Get in there.
Okay.
You're so excited.
Like I said, I've had this person on my list since the first season.
So I'm like, here.
And there has been no room for her ever, except for maybe our witch episode. Maybe. But like, that was only like so brief and barely that I couldn't quite justify it.
Okay.
So I'm so glad we're doing this, where we're just doing a free for all. Okay. So
I'm ready.
I am doing, her name is Boudicca. Have you ever heard of Boudicca? Okay, so I'm going very, very old school. Okay. Okay. All right. So before I start, I got all of my information from several sources because since I went so far back, I had to watch a lot of documentaries and just read a whole bunch. So it was like I was in history class. It was crazy. But I got my info from the legendary story of Celtic Queen Boudicca, warrior queen, on Timeline, which is like a channel, and Boudicca, the Celtic uprising and the sacking of Colchester and London from the Biography channel. And I also went to history.net for my information.
Awesome.
So if you can't tell from that information, she was a queen and also a warrior queen.
Okay, wait a minute. Continue. I think that she's somebody I looked at before, but continue.
Okay, so she basically, just picture Ygritte from Game of Thrones, like when you're seeing her.
Got it.
Like Ygritte. Got it. Okay. So she was born in about 30 AD.
That's a real long time ago.
Yeah. So a long, long time ago. In what's like what will eventually become Britannia. But it wasn't then. It wasn't called Britannia then. And she was known by several names and spellings of the name Boudicca. But that's the most modern pronunciation of it. So sorry. I have tea, so this won't continue. Sorry, my ring light's falling too. It's chaos!
I know, I bought a ring light and I'm not even using it right now. I should be using it, but that's okay.
It's okay. Time will come.
Oh, that's on you.
So Britannia didn't technically exist when she was growing up, but the village where she did grow up and where she was born was very infrequent to attacks and any sort of battles. So it was a very quiet, like kind of farm town. And it was like a small town on the edge of what everyone thought was like the edge of the world. Because it was like
everything just drops off from here.
Yeah, it was like on the sea and there were like rocks and like people were like, well, this is it. But what is now actually called Norfolk, England. Okay. So Norfolk, England. The townspeople were constant innovators and created tools from bronze and stone. So they were just like inventing, like all these like swords, like long swords, broadswords, all kinds of weapons, like for hunting, for if they ever needed to battle, but they never really did because it, like I said, pretty peaceful. So people eventually ended up crossing the waters from other parts of Europe, mostly like Wales, Scotland, things like that. And they would settle on the land, and they ended up forming a British Celtic tribe in that Norfolk area, and they ended up calling it Iceni. I assume because it was cold, Iceni, but I don't know. Anyways, so they were eventually called the Iceni tribe. And they traded their tools and weapons with folks as far as Wales, like I said, and Scotland, Ireland, but of course these weren't called that then. And they were in pretty good standing with many of the tribes, but none of them were called British at the time, but it was all in that like kind of British
like
Isles
in that area,
kind of
but
area.
it wasn't that yet.
Yeah, just to give you kind of an idea of where we're talking here. Unsure of the age, but at about 18, she married Prestigius, I think. Out of all of the documentaries I watched, you'd think that I would know how to pronounce, but I think it's Prestigius. Prestigius and Boudicca ended up having 2 daughters. So 18 at that time, pretty good age to marry somebody. I mean, you're basically going to die.
She was like about 18?
She was about 18 when she got married.
Okay. So, I mean, like, yeah.
Plus, he was like considered to be of royal blood for the Iceni tribe. So they had multiple kings of the tribes. So there were about 11 kings at a time, which is weird, but
I mean, I wonder if it worked like a council.
Maybe so. I'm not sure. Like, I didn't dig too far into like that part of it. I actually looked a bit into Prestigius, but not too much into like their history. But I should have. But it just got so hairy. I was like, oh my gosh, I could get into like 90, and you'll see here in a second why it gets so hairy. But oh boy, I was like, I could, if I got into everybody's history here, I would be here all day long.
Because it is
the
history.
Longest podcast.
It is actual history. I mean, like it is history.
Oh, it gets even worse. Okay.
And so begot so and so and so and so begot so and so.
We start talking about Rome here in a second. So just you wait.
Okay.
Okay. So anyways, so he was of royal blood. His, what they think was his father, but it got, like I said, their families are all kind of crazy and whatever. Anyways, his father was one of the 11 kings at that time. And hold on, let me make sure I got my okay. Yeah. One of the 11 kings, his father, Antedios. Yes. Was one of the kings there. Eventually, what had happened, and this is where it gets a little confusing. So there was a ruler, like a Roman emperor named Ostorius in Rome. So this is going to be like a very boring part until I get to like Boudicca. Okay. So bear with me.
So she gets married. His family
is royals, basically. I guess you can call them royals. Prestigius, his father is one of the 11 kings, and his name is Antedios. Anyways, so Ostorius is one of the Roman emperors at the time, and he comes through and quickly is like, hey guys, we're gonna have to like disarm all of your tribes Like, I just don't trust you. There's just something about you. I just don't trust you.
So we're going to like,
even though you're like a super peaceful tribe, never really had any beef with you. I just don't trust you. There's something about you I don't trust. That's never a good sign, because that means I want to overtake your
right. I want to be more powerful than you, and I don't want you to be able to fight back.
Exactly right. Like, I want this land for some unknown reason. I want to be this place. This one's mine. Thanks. I assume it's because they looked really threatening and that they would kick their ass because they did, according to all of the writings.
They're like, nah, that's cool. We're just going to kick your ass.
They still let them have weapons for hunting, but that was like little tiny like shanks and stuff. And they were like,
well, I was trying to think about it. I'm like, this is like 30 years after death or whatever, AD.
Yeah, 30 years after Christ is what is supposedly, on the docket.
And so their weapons are literally like spears.
Not here, though. Not here. So they were pretty, pretty good at making weapons. So they had like broadswords.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah, so they've
learned to master.
Yeah, so they were
metals
like
and stuff by now.
Yeah, so they were pretty good at making the weapons, which is why I think they were more threatening,
more intimidating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this actually really pissed the Iceni tribe off, obviously, and they rebelled. But sadly, they were defeated because, well, they had no weapons except for tiny little baby shanks. But their main king, which was Antidios and Prastegas' dad, may have been killed in the rebellion. I say may because nobody really knows if he was captured or fled or...
It's an Anastasia situation.
Right. Like, yeah, it's an Anastasia situation. Rasputin came. It was wild. Nobody knows.
It was crazy.
Nobody knows. They sang songs in a ballroom. But anyways, so that
little girls dressed up like him for a long time.
Yeah, it was wild stuff. So basically, because Antidios was Prastegas' dad, this left him in charge of the tribe, which means Boudicca was then the queen, right?
Got it. So now she's queen.
She's now queen. But despite being a queen, Boudicca was known for taking off her jewelry, which like queens don't do, right? Because that's a sign of like royalty and prestige.
So she was like, I am going to have to deal with you right now.
Well, it was actually more so she could work in the field with common people, which I put in my notes, definitely comes in handy later in the story. So she was like how Princess Diana was called the people's princess. Mm-hmm. Like she was definitely the people's queen. Like she would get in the field and work.
Which typically makes you very popular with the people, but not so popular with your uppitties.
Well, luckily in the Iceni tribe, she didn't have a lot of that. Because it was an actual tribe.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like royals now, I guess, you could say. Or even like the Romans. Like, I feel like the Romans had, you know, like their paved streets and whatnot. She was not only known for her royal status, but also for being a pagan druid priestess, which I think is super badass.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That is very cool.
Like, I just think that's like so cool. She's just like, I'm witchy. And like,
yes, she is a very early Stevie Nicks type. Yeah. And she can also like wield a sword. Mm-hmm. It's terrifying. Very badass.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, imagine if like Xena and Stevie Nicks got together. That's what you have. And that is the coolest fucking thing I can think of.
You're like, basically, but she looks like Ygritte from Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty badass.
Yeah, like take me now, Boudicca, take me now. So the tribe was considered a nominal ally of Rome, and Prestigius actually was even like he even kept his title as king of the tribe, even after the recent defeat by Rome, ordered by Emperor Claudius. They had like what were they called? They were called like citizen emperors or something. Basically, they sucked the dink of the emperor. They were like a sheriff or something of the actual. I don't know. I don't exactly know the order of what, but I assume it would be like. But that's who basically went and killed the first king. But the main king is Claudius, who ordered the other war against the tribe. But anyways, Prestigius actually got to keep his king title after the most recent defeat ordered by Emperor Claudius. And he got to be a dual citizen with Rome and the Iceni tribe, which I put is basically like bending the knee in Game of Thrones. Like he was like, okay, well, if you take mercy on our tribe, I will bend the knee to you and just, like allow me to be king of this tribe. I'll keep them under control.
And will be like essentially part of your rule,
right?
Your overall rule,
right? Okay. If you just like don't attack us anymore, right? Like they had this like, okay, we're under a good understanding, like everything's cool, right? In some, I don't know when it was, but they're saying in about 61 AD, there was a battle on what was considered to be sacred Celtic ground on the Isle of Mona, which I assume is where the Mona Lisa got her name. I don't know. But anyways.
I mean, we'll look into that.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look that part up. But anyways, so this was, like I said, sacred ground. And to the Druids, like the Iceni people, this was very, very big deal. And the Romans, who they were supposed to be buddies with, came out and cut down the sacred groves and ruined the Druidic center on Mona, which was like
really bad.
Basically worshipped, Yeah,
that's really bad.
Yeah, and it also, unfortunately, during the attack, Prestigius died.
Oh, her husband died.
Her husband. So that was in 61 AD. So this was, I think it was like early 61 AD. Like, I don't know. They didn't have months, but it was in the winter. I just looked it up. Okay. So
they had seasons.
If we had to say, I'd say probably January or February.
Got it. Okay.
In his will, however, this is where it gets a little weird. So follow me. Okay.
I'm here.
Almost over. So it's a short one, but here's where it gets really epic and weird. Okay. So in his will, however, it left his 2 teen daughters, so they were both teenagers at the time, and his wife Boudicca as co-heirs to his throne.
Okay.
I'm
here.
Okay. However, according to Celtic tradition, which Iceni people are Celtic, chiefs, so the king or queen or whoever is the chief of the land, are only chosen by consent of their people. So basically a democratic
very democratic.
Yeah. So good for them. But chosen by consent of their people and not designated by wills. And and under Roman law, because remember again,
they're under Roman law because he bent the knee.
Right. Prestigius is a Roman citizen, and therefore that land is Roman, technically. a king's death ended in the client relationship, which is legitimately what they called it, a client relationship.
Okay.
Making the property, the Iceni tribe's land, the Romans' estate property of the Roman emperor until the Roman emperor chooses a new king or emperor. Okay. So this is where it got really hairy because there's 3 different things happening here. There was a will. So yes. Prestigis's wishes. There is the Celtic people and what they wanted.
And their choice.
Which if we all like thought about it, it would probably have been Boudicca, probably. Because she was
already the people's queen.
Right. Exactly.
They would have been like, yes, you're still our queen.
Yeah, right. And then there's the dang Romans. These dang Romans. Okay, so this is getting
dang Romans.
Those dang Romans. Those dang Romans on CBS. 8:00 Wednesday night.
8:00, and they're all like this. Oh yeah.
And they're wearing their really stiff armor.
Back to back, shoulders crossed.
God.
Those dang Romans.
They go to the one bar in town. Okay. Anyways. So people say that he made his will to keep his land independent and slip one over on the Romans in secret. Like they think okay, well, we all know that the people will choose Boudicca, so let's just if I do this, maybe nobody will know I died, and we'll just keep it.
We'll just keep it on the DL that I'm dead. I'm just gonna pass this on to my wife. Wink, wink.
Guys, it'll be
Don't
fine.
worry about this.
My daughter will take it over after her. It'll all be fine.
We'll never die. We don't die in this family.
No.
Well, we don't
die. We definitely die, for sure. It's a very common thread. Okay, but alas, those sneaky Romans, those sneaky Romans caught
those darn Romans.
Wednesday night, 8:00. Caught wind and arrived fully suited up for raping and pillaging.
Oh, why did those two go together?
But honestly, in history. Do not fret, though, because it was only raping and pillaging of Boudicca and the daughters.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So Boudicca was having. Okay, so get this. Okay, they came to the royal estate and had Boudicca flogged, and the 2 teen daughters raped right in front of her.
That's so fucked up. Why? Yeah. What is wrong with that? Okay.
I know. Okay, so the reason I'm saying this is because this pissed Boudicca the fuck off.
As it would.
Yeah.
As it would.
But don't worry, it pissed the entire Iceni tribe off. So
I mean, being a woman who just became a mother, I realize how often I'm willing to fucking murder someone, even over the idea of them. It's
don't throw sand in my kid's eyes. I'm pissed off at that, Yeah. So it's could you imagine? No, thanks.
I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
sorry.
No, it's cool. Cause that's when I was I was watching this stuff and I was like, Boudicca. Okay. So, Boudicca was having absolutely none of this.
I've laid everything on fire.
I got absolutely fucking fire in her eyes. Is my next line. And decided Romans have had their crusty hands in Britannia for too long. The Iceni tribes were secretly stocking up on weapons since the ban and had armed themselves, often clad in nothing but body paint. They used this blue body paint that came from flowers that were grown on their land, and they would extract the dye from it and put these stripes all over their bodies. I don't know the significance, but so hot. Okay, so hot. Love it. Love it. Love the idea of it. Give me that nature, baby.
It's haunting.
I know. If I saw that coming at me, I'd be like, oh my God.
I'm in trouble.
Right.
Fucking trouble.
So scared. It reminds me of Khal Drogo's, again, Game of Thrones did a really good job. They must have really read up on Boudicca's situation here.
I mean, that's what it used to be.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so they had maybe a small pelt of fur or a robe, but no armor. None.
But your winks and your wanas.
I mean, listen, they're I'm fucking ready. I'm so
mad. I'm just gonna wang out.
Yeah. Listen, I got it swanging, wanging. But they prepared for attack. So this was men and women of the Iceni tribe. They were like all ready. They were like, let's just get it. Luckily, that all of the tribes folk were on Boudicca's side. And she was able to pep talk them. And they described her as having a tall, thin appearance with a really harsh voice and long red hair. And I just like, yeah. She's like, and I'm like, yeah, just fire them up, sister. And she wore thick cloaks. I put this in there so that we can all have like a vision of her. She wore thick cloaks and a torque, which is a typical ornamental metal band worn around the neck of a Celtic chieftain. And this was significant because it was worn close to the throat, and it signified readiness to sacrifice life for the tribe. And it's typically not worn by women.
Oh.
So she's like wearing this thing like right around her neck, like
I'm imagining
to like behead, like
exactly. I'm imagining like a choker, but in the way of like being like, and I'm ready to lose my head over this kind of like a. And now I'm really thinking of the significance of the choker in like the French fashion, and how I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, like
did that come to? Yeah, because of all the beheadings, did that like come
like,
to
was
fashion?
It before or after?
Right? Because like you think of like the old like Victorian like looks and everything, like, and it wasn't even Victorian; it was before that. But they all
I have an interesting thing about the name Victoria. Do you want to hear it? It came from this.
I'm here. Yes.
It came from this
we
very
went on
thing.
The tangent, but I'm very
No. I'm glad you did because it actually came from this. Okay. So the name Victoria came from the word victory, right?
Makes sense.
Okay. Well, the name victory used to be Boudicca. It used to say Boudicca for the word victory.
Victory.
So
that's awesome.
So the significance of that is because they say that the most well-known queen after Boudicca was Queen Victoria, right? Like she was the only like queen on her own without a king, right? Like,
and I think that if you like go back and you look at language, B becomes V. So Boudicca becomes like Boudicca becomes like victorious, right? Victoria, like, which I think Victoria is like a salute. That's very cool.
Yeah, because they said that in one of the documentaries, and it's so weird that you said that because I just told Casey that last night, and I wasn't even going to bring it up, but I was like, "Oh, that's a sign. Bring it up."
Bring it up. It's all part of it. But
yeah. But they were saying,
I can see how that like in language gets broken down from Boudicca becoming like the B becomes Victoria. A V, which happens. Yeah, which happens in language. The B becomes V. And so it's Boudicca, and then Boudicca being like victorious, Victoria, victory.
Yeah, and then I mean, really, until Queen Victoria, there hadn't been like a single ruling queen.
Yeah.
Without a king.
Yeah.
You know, because she lost her husband, right? And then she was like a queen, right?
That's awesome.
There was So there you go. But yeah. So anyways, there was a fascinating factoid.
I like it. I enjoy fascinating facts. It's what my brain is full of.
Yeah. We're almost done. Okay. So they're getting ready for battle because she's pissed.
She's mad.
She is livid.
Made her mad.
She is livid. Okay. So I must tell you that the next fact is because the Romans are now set up in what is now London.
Okay.
England. But back then it was called Londinium. Because that they always put that shit at the end of everything, right. Londinium. So she led her tribe to Londinium, and they say she killed nearly everyone in her way. Like she was just on a fucking killing spree. She didn't care if you were a soldier. She didn't care if you were a civilian. Like she was like, no, you're complicit. Like
you're in my
get, which isn't great. Like you.
Great.
What's that podcast you told me to listen to?
Which one? You're wrong about.
You're wrong about. You're wrong about. And you were talking about how it tells you like the good and the bad sides of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, this isn't good. This isn't great. She just like
No.
burned down farms.
Oh, I could tell you. I could tell you the really bad parts about her if you really wanted. But
I mean, people are complicated. Historical figures are complicated,
especially when they're at war for what they did to her daughter. Yikes.
No, yeah, they're at war. She's pissed.
Yeah. So,
but no one is inherently good or evil.
Oh no.
Even if you want them to be evil, and they are kind of evil, it's not like they're always evil all the time.
Right. I mean, shit. Even Hitler had a cute dog. It's like, I hate it. I want a cute dog. But anyways, so I said, I won't go into the savageness of the killings because they definitely did on the documentaries. But if you want to look it up, you can. But they spared very little, I said. Killing the noblest and most distinguished citizens along with soldiers because of their willingness and association with Rome, I put. So it was mostly like noble people and like.
That's what happens when you're heads of state. And
yeah. That's basically like the French Revolution. You know, they were killing nobles and stuff. But yeah, it was intense. I was like, whoa, I'll leave that detail out. But if you want to check out how Boudicca killed people, go to town. It was intense. Go to town. Because I was reading it and I was like, oh my, Boudicca.
No, that it's that brutal. That I think it's brutal.
Mm-hmm. And it was creative. It was creative. I'll give her that.
And I eat lunch while hearing, and he took apart her.
Oh, well, that's basically what happened. But the way she did it, fascinating, especially with those tools. I don't know how she did it. Anyways, it was impressive. It was more impressive, really.
It was more. I was like, I'm a little disgusted, but I'm actually quite impressed.
I am. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but dang, good for her. She brought troops of about 230,000 men and women, and she rode in a chariot with her daughters. Like she's like, hey, you guys want to come?
This is for you. Look at what your mother does for you.
Yeah, right. With that accent. Look at what your mother does.
Look at what your mother does for you. This I did for you.
Do you see? Do you see
the sacrifices? Do you see the sacrifices I make on that altar for you?
Yeah, I don't know if they were like how involved in the fighting they were, but it was. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me give my husband a kiss. Okay, so though the Iceni killed up to 70 to 80,000 British.
Damn, that's a lot.
British people, though they weren't called the British, but you know what I'm saying. They only killed about 400 Romans.
Wait. What?
Yeah.
Wasn't there beef with Rome?
Yeah. I think they put a lot more attention on the everybody who's in my way.
Oh.
Yeah. And wounded a slightly larger amount. Hold on. Okay, I'm back again. So yeah, they killed a lot more of the citizens than the soldiers, which
it's not great.
Not great, guys. It's like you could have put all that attention to the people you were supposed to kill.
You know, your army is a lot bigger when other people are armed and you defeat them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, so this, I feel like I should give you more context. This was about, I would say, we'll say summer, maybe fall of 61, and the reason I'm telling you this is because it's still in 61. So this
all happened in 1 year. So her husband dies. She's supposed to get the throne. Rome's like, no, we're going to flog you and we're going to rape your daughters. And she's like, no, I'm going to march up to you. And on my way up, I'm going to burn and pillage everything on my way. Yes. And I'm going to show you how angry I am. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. Correct. Yeah. So, yes. So she
again, very Mother of Dragons, very Game of Thrones, where
right?
you burn the whole town when you actually hate the people inside of the
it's like you
castle.
only have a beef really with like this select group. Why
and
not
you're not
just
actually killing this select group,
right?
They're getting away in their secret passages while you're killing innocents. Anyways, got it.
Yeah, I mean, but okay. On her, to be fair, she had never been a queen by herself. So she had not ever planned for this. It was all very sudden.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's not like there was months of planning that way. It was like, they get back and she's like, round up the troops.
Yeah.
Round up the troops.
It was all out of frustration and fury. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
understandable fury.
Yeah. So it was mostly like, just fucking burn it all to the ground. And at that point it was like, okay. So I do get it, but hindsight is definitely 2020. And that is why she felt is what usually people say, I think. She felt as though she failed her tribe with the loss of a whole bunch of their own tribe members. And she ended up committing suicide, Boudicca, by poison soon after their battle. So in about fall of 61.
Jesus, it all happened in 61.
Yeah. Yes. So the tribe, however, was unwilling to stop and wanted to keep fighting for Boudicca's honor and wanted to keep preparing for another battle. I don't know whatever happened to that. I assume they kept fighting and didn't go well. I'm not sure. Maybe it did go well, but either way, they remained. So Britannia remained under orderly, quote unquote, Roman rule for another 3 centuries.
Wow.
But the Iceni tribe continued to be a tribe and remained independent.
Okay.
So I don't know if they like her determination or what it was, but something had an impact on the Romans.
And they just stayed away.
To allow them
They're like,
to,
we're not gonna.
They still were under Roman rule, but
they were their own independent tribe.
Right.
They were
for 3 centuries.
They were like Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, we have a couple of those in the United States where it's
Guam.
like Guam is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Britons mourned Boudicca's death and gave her a costly burial.
Really?
Yes. But the location is debated. Some places that she may be buried are Gloucestershire. Yeah. Friggin' Stonehenge, which God, I hope, because wouldn't that be cool?
First of all, I thought you were saying the name of the place was friggin' Stonehenge.
Yeah, you know, friggin' Stonehenge. It's the punk rock one.
It's like southwest of Stonehenge. Right. Friggin' Stonehenge.
It's a little smaller, but it's got graffiti all over it. Norfolk, where she was from. Somewhere in Hampstead, in London, or the most depressing one, which would be very, very sad, somewhere under a train platform at King's Cross Station in London.
That is sad. I mean, it could happen.
I know. I really hope it's not there, like Market or something. Like,
well, no. Here's the thing: if you don't know an AD, I mean, we have. I don't know.
I know, but somebody that big and that important, like, God, under a train platform.
Bones from like literally thousands of years ago.
I know.
It's gonna happen.
Like pharaohs have markers.
Yeah, but who knows what we're built on top of, because we don't know the history. I don't
care about me.
Well, no. Like, think about it, though. Like, we're built on top of the history of people who we've erased. So we don't know what we're built on top of. We could be on top of bodies that we don't know about because we've erased the history that would know about them. I'm sorry, I made it sadder.
I know. Anyways, I don't want her to be under a train platform. That makes me sad.
She's under a tree.
She's under a beautiful tree or at Stonehenge, in my opinion, because she's a Druid priestess.
Stonehenge would be cool. That's what the rocks are there to.
Right. That's like her pyramid, basically. Okay. Last point.
They won't admit it because she's a woman.
Absolutely.
That's what
Absolutely.
it is. There you go.
But her Druid gods would admit it. So last thing is there is actually a sculpture that was erected of her in 1902 by Thomas Thornycroft. Which is a funny name.
Funny name. Poor guy.
The statue of her is with a large staff and 2 arms raised and her 2 rearing horses, a chariot with bladed wheels, which is crazy badass, and her 2 young daughters in the chariot with her. Boudicca's face is stern and valiant and unfazed. And the statue is, and the chariot faces the House of Parliament, and it looks like it's ready to attack, which is like super cool.
Just a reminder.
Like, hey guys, don't fuck this up.
Just a reminder, I'm
like,
right
hey,
here.
I don't know if you know this, but I fought really hard for this fucking country. Like, you should really think about what you're doing.
I do feel like I've started to read a little bit about her, and I was like, I'm gonna stay away from this, but I think because I remember her 2 daughters being like at her side when she went to battle, and it was over the fact that like she was supposed to be queen, and they were trying, like they took it away from her and did her dirty, and then she was like, oh hell no, I'm the people's queen, we will fight this.
Yeah, she's really cool. So here's the picture of the statue.
Yes, I actually have looked into her before. Like I've seen her stuff, which is a really beautiful, great statue.
It really is. I love how like the daughter's peeking around the side.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that is my story of Boudicca finally.
That's awesome. You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
That's an awesome story.
I could have went into like Roman history and like all of that, but I was like,
her history is Roman history, which is why it's important that people hear about her, because she's part of the history.
Yeah. She's intense. And I was like, I don't want to talk about Prestigius too much. I don't want to talk about the Romans too much because it's not about them. It's about her.
And her history.
Yeah. So that's Boudicca. No last name,
awesome.
Boudicca.
Just Boudicca.
Because back then you didn't need a last name, you know?
No, everyone was like Cher.
Yeah, everybody was like Cher, exactly. So yeah, that's all for me.
That's awesome. I'm trying to think if I had anything else for you tonight. No, it's my last week of work.
Yeah.
Friday's my last day. Actually,
then you're going to be a learning girl.
I know I am going to be in school and learning, and I'm anxious. But I feel pretty good.
You're going to do great.
I've been doing some self-teaching so that I don't because I want to be ahead in class and not behind.
You're going to do great.
Yeah.
You're going to do great. I'm so excited for you and this adventure. It's going to be
I'm
really
excited.
fun.
I'm excited to see where I end up at. But until then, I mean, by the next time we record, I might have some information about how it's going. So,
yes, I hope so.
Yes.
Well, I hope so. My goodness, it'll be at least a couple weeks, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So until then, don't forget to rate and subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Send us your stories. Send us your ideas for stories. Send us people that you like. Send us, just anything you can think of, because now it's open season. We're talking about any and all women. No more like having to wait until it fits into a certain path. We're just going to tell each other amazing stories about women that we love. And I'm excited. I've got a couple, I don't know. I have one that's coming up that I think that you're really going to like, and it's a little dark. And I'm trying to decide when I'm going to do it because it is a bit dark.
I had a dark one too, but I was like, I don't know if it's too, like, if her story is too dark. Like, not her story. Her story is great, but like the end is too dark and it overshadows her story. So I may pass on it.
I have one that's very similar, but the darkening to her story led to some really good things. So I think that I still want to do her story, even though it ends sadly, but it led to some really good things.
I feel like I know a couple people that could be.
That could be a lot of people. That's why there's so many laws named after women, because women are often ended off badly.
It's correct. Look into it, folks. Or not, because it's sad. But anyways, please tell your friends about us. We've got a lot of people who are sharing our stuff, which is so fun and so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And yeah, let us know who you want to hear about. I got a recommendation, and I'm doing that recommendation next time.
Oh, I'm very excited to hear it. All right. Well, until next time, how about we
smear lipstick
and erase hell.
Bye.
And goodbye.